Hello there, YouTube. Well, today's topic is royalty. And I'll admit I've had this one cooking for a while, just waiting for the right stupid news story involving the royals. Fortunately, my two favourites, Charlie and Philip, have failed to do anything stupid, but there is a rather stupid story that's come up recently. Argentina consider it a provocation that we are now flying Prince William over the Falklands. Why? Flight Officer Wales, or Flight Officer Saxacobo Gotha to give him his proper surname, is no different from any other flight officer. The royals themselves say that when he's serving in the military, he's no different from any other soldier. So maybe the fact he might have a couple of SAS bodyguards hanging around with him, but other than that, he's no different from any other soldier. And Argentina are massively overreacting again, but I think this is a good example of the sort of stupidity of monarchy. I used to be a big fan of the royals. I used to buy into the whole leading myth, but I've come to realise that when Blackadder, Edmund Blackadder, the character played by Ryan Atkinson, said the reason he's the king and I'm the lord is because his ancestor was a bigger murdering bastard than mine. That's pretty much sums it up. Admittedly, the Saxons elected their kings. Early Saxons elected their kings, and they had a kind of a more accountability to them, even when they did move away from elected representatives. They had more accountability to them. They had their what was it called again? I actually think it was actually called the moot, which is probably the origin of the phrase moot point, because of the fact that they would stand around discussing a lot of pointless shit. Anyway, so essentially the royal line as it stands claims its legitimacy via an outdated concept, divine right, and to be fair, despite Henry VIII's attempt to sort of integrate the monarchy with this new Church of England, divine right really should have disappeared with the Reformation, because the whole point of the Reformation was you do not need an intermediary, and the whole point of divine right is that the monarch is an intermediary. So why the hell that is still there, I have no idea whatsoever. So yes, divine right is theologically and ideologically obsolete. Why it should continue even in this nerfed form is a complete mystery. When we go on into the thing, part of this ideology is that they have to have an unbroken legitimate line, which they do not. There are so many legitimacy questions, one of which has been recently proven by Tony Robinson and his team. Pretty much the whole line after Richard Plantagenet III is pretty much illegitimate because of the fact the Tudors, the whole Tudor clan, were legitimate, so therefore the whole descendants of the Tudors have no right to be on the throne. Even if you ignore that, later on you get to the Georgian era, and monarch after monarch of the Georgians seems to have a legitimacy question about it. Even Queen Victoria, the last of the Hanoverians and first of the Saxe-Coburg-Gothas, who we currently have, has a legitimacy question over her because of the fact that, against all statistical probability, she had no symptoms of porphyria. And considering how much porphyria there was in this ridiculous inbred family, That's the odds against that are something around 1 in 250,000, which aren't great odds. But anyway, also another thing recently, of course, was the question of Prince Harry's legitimacy and the fact that Charles refused point blank to have a DNA test done. Now, I kind of admire that. It's a bit like our old Emperor Claudius, who suspected that his son by Messalina wasn't legitimate. And he said to him, I don't care whose son you are, you're my son now, which is fair enough. I mean, if he's going to say that, and he admitted he didn't leave the empire to him, that if he's going to say that it's within a private setting of it, but if you're claiming a divine bloodline, that bloodline breaks. Whatever reason, your claim goes. And the bunch we currently have, the Saxe-Coburg-Gothas, who renamed themselves Windsor in the First World War because of the fact they sounded too German, they're doubly illegitimate. And as for an actual legitimate monarch, the direct descendants of the Plantagenet line currently live in Australia, where they shear sheep, and the current official King of England, legitimate King of England, says, I do not want the job, and frankly I'm a Republican, which really cheered me up. Yes, so that's it in a nutshell. Now, there's another argument they use now. I said, oh, well, it may not be entirely legitimate, but they do bring us some tourist revenue, really. Firstly, the figures are doctored, in that pretty much all the tourist revenue of the year is accredited to the royals, where it really shouldn't be. Secondly, I don't care how much you get putting into tourism, you're taking out millions in the civil list to fly Prince Andrew around in his helicopter, among other things. So, yeah. That's my view. They're really, monarchy really has no place in any society that claims to be modern, Western. I won't use the L word because that's poison to my American fans, or some of them. But yeah, that's my argument. You've got at the moment we've got illegitimate incumbents. The legitimate incumbents don't want it. And really, there's no reason to continue.